All right, I guess we are live. And good morning, everybody. It is November the 7th, and I am feeling a bit under the weather. I had stomach flu. So if you see me being a little bit more subdued today, it's because I can barely stand up right now. Was sleeping through the entire weekend. So this morning, it feels like I was in a bit of a. You ever see those Daily Show, you know, made for Lifetime TV episodes where a guy goes into a coma, wakes up 20 years later, and shocked about all the time that's passed by since he's been away. I kind of feel like that right now. Stomach flu had me literally asleep for 48 hours. So, ugh. Anyway, the purpose of this chat is to allow others to come on if they choose to and discuss topics related to their porn addiction. So this is about you. If I don't have anybody come on this morning, I'm going to keep it brief this today. I'll keep it open for about half an hour, and I'll give you the opportunity to come on if you want to come on and, and chat with me. We're talking about anything porn related. It could be about your recovery and its progress, but if you're experiencing other challenges, we can talk about that as well. All right. Some things I'm going to talk about while we're waiting for people to come in. I set up a poll. I'm going to keep the poll open for a while, but I've got a new community chat. If you go up to the top of if you go up to the top of the header, there's a community link if you're a subscriber, and you can get in there and talk with each other if you want to, or you can fill out the poll. And the poll was basically asking where you were in your recovery. And surprisingly, right now we've got 43% are under 90 days. So a vast majority of you right now are early in recovery. I was kind of surprised that no one said that they're a grizzled veteran yet. So I guess I'm talking, or most of my audience are the people who were like really early on in this phase. Um, so yeah, if you haven't had a chance to fill that out, please go out there and this is not scientific. It's basically me just trying to get a grasp for like whoever is subscribed to me right now. Like, where can I help you out at? Um, What else were we going to talk about? Oh, hey, man, it's No Nut November. How could I forget about that? No Nut November is. I think you get a lot of guys out there who are just participating in a meme contest, right? But there's more to it than that. I think behind a lot of these people who get into it, they really are, saying, "Hey, you know what? I've been kind of leaning into this porn stuff kind of hard, and I'm trying to see if I can break away for a little bit." And I think the reason why the challenge has gotten legs for so many years is because they recognize that it is a challenge, right? This would have gone away so quickly if there critically wasn't a serious issue with people trying to kick it. And they try and they're like, "Oh shit, this is difficult." So there is a lot of effort that has to be used in order to keep clear of this habit. And part of the problem is that we're all pulling on to digital devices all the damn time. So we've always got the mechanism with us. We've always got that mechanism with us, and we have to learn how to exercise self-control. And unfortunately, you discovered that just the simple act of self-control with a pornography addiction for a lot of people is a lot more difficult than they thought it would be. And I think you'll see a lot of people on the internet who are just kind of like, yeah, whatever, you can call that an addiction. If you're experiencing problem letting go of something and it's a very real challenge, it's an addiction to you, man. Like, you cannot drop it. And the reason a lot of people get into this is because they recognize the challenge. It's difficult. All right, so for all you guys that are in No Nut November, one thing I just wanted to say, early on, if you if you do have a relapse, if you go back to your porn, don't worry about it. Like, the way I try to put it to guys is like, hey, listen, this is not a contest with you versus other people. It's not even a contest with you versus yourself. Stop thinking of it as a contest, and start thinking of it as, I am trying to break a habit loop cycle. It's like, you have to allow for the fact that you're going to have slip ups. Could you imagine if smokers, for example, um, we're doing some sort of similar contest, right? Like every November, all smokers got together and say, "Hey, we're gonna try to kick the habit for the month of November." Do you think that the second somebody just breaks the habit, they're just gonna be like, "Ah, screw this! I'm gonna smoke the rest of my pack." Oh man, they're going to try to get back into the habit loop of trying to break the cycle that was causing them to smoke in the first place, right? Same thing with alcohol. You can name any other vice that's out there. It's like the focal point is trying to break the habit. That's all it is. You're trying to break the habit. I saw that I was looking at Twitter before I got sick, and the guys who manage the NoFap Twitter have been going hard and heavy, man. They were um, for a while. I've been talking about the fact that I tend to feel like I'm the only person out there that's having to do firebacks at a lot of the people in the media who seem to be going after people who are in the porn addiction space, right? And look, I'm not a moralistic person. I'm not somebody who's out here preaching to you and saying that this is a moral crusade that I'm going through. For me, this challenge of getting others to break their pornography habit is really just about self improvement, man. That's all it is. And for people like me who have gone through the worst of this, like literally had my life destroyed because of my porn addiction, I don't want to see other people struggle with this, right? I was able to break mine, and I want to see you break yours. So there's a lot of people out there in the media that think that people like me, people that are trying to help others break their porn addiction, they see us with contempt. They see me as a person that is not doing any good in the world. And how can I not fire back at that? How could I not fire back at things like that? You've got to you know, stay in your damn space, man. Look, if I'm not gonna, take away from your own free speech, but for you to be so outlandish to say that there isn't some good in the world that could be achieved by, having people break their porn addiction cycle, fuck you. You know, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna help other people as best I can. And so when I saw NoFap, that the post that I love was said porn industry operative idioms. Therapists equal profiteers. Addiction and recovery equals anti-porn extremist. Porn-induced erectile dysfunction, religious shame. Not using porn, abstinence treatments. Telling kids to avoid porn, harming the youth. Science, disinformation. And this tweet goes on for a while. He does it in multiple parts, but firing back like that, that's the fire I like to see, man. Just we need to have more people in the world who are um, just out there and just taking shots at these jerks. That's the only word I could really use. That they feel threatened by, for whatever reason, they feel threatened by the fact that there might be people out there in the world that are trying to help others, and I don't get it. I really don't. Actually, you know something? I do kind of get it because when I was in the peak of my porn denial, I was probably one of those assholes. But um, I think that's all we have. Yeah, that's all I really got to talk about this morning. So we've had nobody coming into the chat, and like I said, I'm going to do this one short today, guys. I'm not going to do an hour. I'm going to run this out to 9:30. I'm going to call it quits because I haven't been feeling very well. Here's a study that I had posted on my Twitter handle about 5 days ago. It was akjournals.com. It was a study that was published talking about withdrawal intolerance as related to compulsive sexual behavior disorders. And the conclusion was that changes related to mood and general arousal noted in the current study were similar to the cluster of symptoms in withdrawal syndrome proposed for gambling disorders and internet gaming disorders in the DSM 5. And so, just that alone is really important. The biggest problem we have right now, and this is from a psychotherapy standpoint, The biggest problem right now is if you came to me and said, "Hey, you know what? I've got a porn addiction," right? And I said, "Well, you know what you should really do? See if you can find a therapist, and if you can find a therapist, there's there's lots of different credentialings I can send you off to. And if I sent you to any of those credentialings, um, because you are being labeled as a porn addict, you can't get insurance companies to normally pay for that because it's not in the DSM-5. That's the problem with it. So you can't lean on your insurance company to break this addiction. Now, if you had like a heroin addiction or some other other addiction, they're more than happy to shell out the money for that, but they won't do it for porn addiction. And it kind of sucks because like now I don't know if you guys have ever had to pay for therapy, especially when you're having to go for somebody that has the proper credentialing, like a proper sex addiction therapist. It's you're laying out a lot of money. That at the most expensive, I was paying one person $200 every single session. That's atrocious, man. And if you're poor, you can't afford that crap, so you're not going to be able to pull it off. Anyway, so the study is tying the fact that you can tie together the withdrawal syndromes to other things that are in the DSM-5, right? That's crucial because this could be the stepping stone, right, to at some level getting sexual behavior disorders like inside of the DSM-5 and getting basically somebody who's a porn addict to be able to eventually go to their insurance company and be able to pay for therapy. Um, and I can't tell you, I was definitely under $10,000 the first time I had gone into therapy, and I had a host of other things too. Like it's weird, they wouldn't pay for the porn addiction side of things, right? So I went to a CSAT on that one. That's the credentialing for a sex addict. Oh, he wants me to turn on light. Hang, there you go. So yeah, with the credentialing, you absolutely want to have a CSAT if you can afford to pay for a CSAT, but because the insurance company won't pay for it, you are kind of screwed. But the other insurance did pick up other things. Like I had other issues with stress. I was able to get that covered. Now I'll tell you guys, if somebody's out there and listening to this right now, what I discovered, and it took me a while to discover it, if you talk to certain therapists, you outline your problems, right? What you can do in certain situations is that you can get your therapy under another problem, have them charge under that mechanism for your porn addiction. So if you go in with, if stress is part of your problem, they'll cover stress. They will cover stress. All right. What else do we got going on today? Oh, I missed it. I completely missed it. It was last week was Addiction Awareness Week. Mm. Well, that's part of the problem with what I do is that sometimes you just can't. I need a secretary almost. Like I can't follow up on every single thing. We had a discussion amongst some of us that were on Twitter about a lot of the people that work in the space that I work in. I'm not even working, right? This is not. Although sometimes it feels like a job, I'm not getting paid for any of this. My channel, my YouTube channel right now, is not monetized. I am not trying to make money off of this. I am doing this for giving back. A lot of people that kind of work in the same space, in other words, they're giving their time away freely. They do it because they want to help other people, right? That's the reason they do it. Um, a lot of the criticism that comes out from these goons out there in the media, seems to be like, way we're profiteers. It's like, no, the people who were doing a lot of the profiting, on this are the people who were supporting the pro porn position. There's no money to be made about telling somebody what not to do, right? You can't. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there in the coaching industry or maybe in clinical therapy that are, they're making their money for what they do. But I'm just an advocate, man. I just come out here and help other people. I'm not here to monetize my existence for helping other people out. This is all giving back. I call it 12 step work. For anybody that's out there in chat, if you have anything you want to chat about, let me know. Throw it down in the notes. From the chat notes, my therapist told me that therapy is bringing the unconscious conscious, and I 100% agree. I had to pay out of pocket for $900 a month. Yeah, man. Tell me about it. It can be a very costly process, and that's not the worst of it. I mean, for people that have the means to really be able to do something, like the guys that can immediately shove out like 30 or 40 grand. There's facilities out there where you can. There's one big one that's in Arizona. There's another one here in the state that I'm in, um, where you can just go there and they lock you away, kind of like an AA clinic, and they kind of lock you away, and you just get to work on nothing recovery, but recovery for like the entire month. And those things, 30 to 40 thousand dollars, no joke. Now, every single person I've talked to that has gone through that said it was worth every single penny because they needed that. They needed to be isolated. They needed to be taken away from all the stressors in their life. They needed to be taken away from all the triggers inside of their environment, and it just allowed the focus to happen. Um, but man, when we just talk about the $900 that was mentioned in the chat, even for an average person, man, 900 bucks is a lot of money. um, let alone 30 or 40 thousand dollars. Oh, see, I didn't have that luxury. By the time I got into my crap, I just didn't have a lot of cash on hand. A lot of my stuff was like in my retirement, which I would have had to have liquidated my 401k, and that wasn't going to happen. So I went the other route. I leaned on, I went to an individual therapist and I used the 12 step programs, and I was at three or four, three or four meetings every single week early on, right? My sponsor was pushing me to do the 90 and 90. And for those not in 12 step work, that means that you do 90 meetings in 90 days. So every single day you're pressing to get inside of a meeting. And the whole point is to just get acclimated. You get acclimated in what recovery work is, and you don't stop working the system. And once you start getting acclimated, then this becomes just like breathing. Every single thing that we do every single day. And that's what happened with me. Even though I didn't do the 90 and 90, I pushed really hard, and now I eat, sleep, and breathe this crap. Hear any noises? That's my dog down here. Come on, sweetie. It's okay, sweetie. Urgh. One of these days, I'm gonna set up a proper studio. It's all black in here, and the reason why I do that is because I'm working out of like a home office, and I try to keep a black background so you can't see the fact that I have like half of my daughter's stuff is in back here. So I try to, for the purposes of anonymity, I try to keep it dark as much as possible. But one of these days, I am going to, I'm going to gut this whole room. I'm going to set up a proper blue screen, and we're going to do this thing right. But that requires me actually putting effort into it. So maybe sometime in the winter when I get some time freed up. Oh. Sorry, YouTube. I am in the process of just making sure we didn't have anybody else that was trying to get into the chat. Okay, we're good to go. Oh, I forgot to talk about my daughter. Ah, oh, so this one's good. So last week, um, my daughter and I took her out to the mall for a little while, and we're buying some clothes for school. And she's telling me how she really hates school. And she's had some issues with school in the past, but um, she has troubles with authority, and we're working that out. But one of the things that she started talking about was she was really hating like the kids in her class and just the kids in general, like other kids in general. And I was I was kind of, this is something new, like something I hadn't seen before. So I was starting to peel back the layers, and I was like, "Oh, sweetie, what's going on? Like, why you hate the kids at school so much?" And she's like, "Well, like all they do is they talk about porn all the time." My daughter's 12. Um, and I commented on my Twitter channel that I felt like I was in some sort of great cosmic boomerang. Like 40 years ago, that boomerang was launched, and then it just hit me just now because when I was in middle school, I was that kid who was smuggling his porn mags into his backpack into the middle school and like, looking at them with my friends and stuff like that. Um, and I guess one way you could look at it is that the problem hasn't gone away. If anything, it's escalated, right? This consumption of pornography, but getting to actually hear it from my daughter's perspective, it it really made me feel shitty. Like I I felt terrible about what she's going through, and I felt terrible about how the transgressions of that I had gone through, you know, 40 years ago could have been contributing to the way we are right now. Like all of us individually, as mostly men, um, we allow this insatiable hunger for sex and this commoditization of like women's bodies and stuff like that to just be this cultural narrative. So it goes into just about everything we do and say, and the fact that there's these kids at school just nonstop talking about porn to the point where my daughter's just like ew, and making her feel hatred towards other people. Mm. And I don't know what to say about it other than the fact that I can only do what I can do, which is try to help people break their habits. But how much longer does this go on? How much longer do we keep going through the cycle? I try to be a realist at times so it doesn't drive me too completely crazy. But anybody who's like 12 or 13 years old, where they're starting to go through some sexual impulse stuff, I guess, discussion of sexuality is just naturally going to occur, but does it have to be about porn? Like this is like the saturation in this porn culture. Is that the thing that's always going to be the way that kids get their sexual education? It shouldn't be that way, man. And it shouldn't be so bad that it just hurts children. That's all I got to say about that. We're up on 9:25. I'm gonna call it quits in 5 minutes. Give it a few more here, and I'll. So if you want to talk about or discuss anything, go ahead and leave it down in the chat. If not, I'll wrap it up here in a bit. Oh, I guess there's something else I'll follow up on, which is that you know I had mentioned earlier that I was dealing with kind of like the downhill stuff from my recent legal victory. So it was a legal victory because I got a PBJ, which what I've discovered since fact a PBJ in the United States stands for probation before judgment. So if you ever get arrested for anything, in some states you can have basically the judgment that was put against you basically removed. And so in my situation, I had to serve probation, and then they retroactively removed that judgment against me. Um, and so what should have happened is that I should have gotten an order from the court to get off the SO list, which is what I was targeting for. And but what actually happened is that the judge did everything except make an order. So right now I'm in a really weird spot where the my crime is gone, gone, but the I'm still on the SO list and I can't get off of it. So I've got to figure out what I'm going to be doing next. I need to. There's a giant bureaucracy around this entire thing, um, and it's difficult to talk about, man, because like people don't want to hear it. But the reality of this, the reality of what's been constructed here, is that they built a system where, and I'm talking about the actual people who adhere to the SO list, they built a system that's completely isolated and protected. It takes cues from the court system, but it's not part of the court system. And so, if anything goes wrong between the handoff between the courts and the people who administer the SO list, you're kind of screwed. And that's what I am. I'm kind of screwed right now. So I'm looking for a lawyer. I might have to replace mine. Kind of sucks. Yeah, the shitty part is like the PBJ is literally the hardest thing to get. Regardless of what you do, you could be in a DUI and get a PBJ. Getting the PBJ is not easy. So if your lawyer pulls off the PBJ, normally you're celebrating. But in my situation, it's like the hard thing got accomplished, but the thing I needed to do in order to get off the SO list didn't get done. And it's like a lesson learned. I've been telling every single person that has been in a similar situation to me is like, man, make sure you get a lawyer who specifically has dealt with somebody like you, because um, there's so much to this. There is so much to this, and what you start discovering once you've actually had to be in the business of going after like your legal defense. Once you've gone through this whole process, is that you need a specialist, and there's nothing in the law field that announces what your specialty is. If you go into the medical practices and you go to a neurologist, right? Somebody who specializes in neurology, oncologist, right? Somebody specializes in oncology. But when you get into the law practices, there's no credentialing that's inside of that that will tell you that that lawyer is good at one specific thing. So if you're up Schitt's Creek, my best advice is try to find out if the lawyer that you're trying to get advice from, if they've actually worked a case like yours, and better yet, if they've worked several cases like yours. Um, so anyway, that's all I got to say about that. It is 9:30, guys, and I told you I've got to wrap things up. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, but I've also got to catch up on 2 missing days from my sickness. So it's a pleasure to talk to everybody. And, if you're working No Nut November, I hope that you're working it diligently and you're free to reach out to me. I have a email address, road to recovery 11 at yahoo.com. You could also go up to my profile and find me on Twitter if you need to reach out in any way, DM me up there. Um, yeah. So thank you for participating. I will see you next Monday, and I'm probably going to have another video up before the end of the week. I've been working on some new topics, and it's been a while since I've posted, so I'll probably get another formal specialty video up. Anyway, thanks for participating. Have a good day.